Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to the 5th stream this week. We've been streaming every day this week, and it's been a good time. I enjoy seeing all your faces in the chat. Welcome in. First, I have some news. So if you remember yesterday, I tweeted this tweet. I'll play it for you now. Good morning, good morning. Welcome in, everyone. Oh, is it not going to play? Oh, and also, I need to plug this in. No, so that's the thing. Like, okay. So let me play the video first, so you understand what we're dealing with here. Okay. My preferences are better than yours. Mine are right, and anything that are not my preferences are wrong. And if you have those, you are wrong, and you are bad. My preferences. So let's do a quick poll. Was he joking? Do you think I was joking in that video that you just watched? Oh yeah, so it would be desynced because right now it's synced with my camera, which is more delayed than the screen. So now I have to wonder: are you joking by voting no, or is it just not that clear that this was me making fun of every single person who comes out with an opinion and a holy war, right? My preferences are better than yours. Mine are right, and anything that are not my preferences are wrong. And if you have those, you are wrong, and you are bad. So, I mean, I said that during a stream and in reply to Alka, and I thought it was hilarious. And then I tweeted it with a bad, like, this is purposefully a bad opinion. If you go back to the video, if you go back to the stream yesterday, whenever I tweeted this, I specifically said, like, I want a bad opinion to put into this tweet. Because I wanted to either, like, trigger people or I want people to realize that I'm joking. But here's the thing. Okay, so Sami, I don't know if Sami watches the stream or if and they knew I was joking or not, but they replied with, like, a legitimate tweet from Rich Harris, who mentioned that Prettier is going to make tabs the default in Prettier version 3. I guess that's a good point, because, like, Nathan Fielder, he's created a character where you don't know if he's joking, but, like, from the outside looking in, everything is hilarious. I like Nathan Fielder and Nathan For You and, like, his new show. That's my kind of comedy. But regardless, Rich Harris tweeted, I mean, a few months ago, this is a tweet from June, and mentioned that Prettier is going to be, tabs are going to be the default. And then this reply on GitHub that mentions that tabs are way better for Braille displays. This is something that I never thought about. That on a Braille display, a space literally takes up, like a 4-space tab is going to take up 4 entries on a Braille display, whereas a tab is only going to take up 1 for every tab. So yeah, this was unrelated to what I tweeted. This was just from June 28th. But this was sent as a response to me saying spaces are better than tabs. And then Rich Harris liked the reply. So if you're watching, Rich, I'm sorry if I offended you. I agree with your opinion. You can go back and watch the stream to know that I was joking and that I actually do think tabs are better. But it's pretty hilarious to me that Rich and if you don't know, Rich Harris is the creator of Svelte, a very prolific open source developer. He's done a whole lot of other stuff too. So that's a thing. But welcome in. Today's going to be a chill stream, in that this isn't a tutorial. There's not really a plan. We've got some, oh yeah, he created Rollup, he created dgit. Just look at his published npm packages and you can see all of the stuff that he's done. But we're gonna be working on overlays and such. So today we're gonna be working on potentially this chat overlay. And then there's lots of other to-dos and things related to overlays and various coding garden related things. Yeah. I look tired, but I don't sound tired. Well, thanks. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I've looked at Quick. It looks cool. The thing is, like, I never even got into like server-side, like hybrid server-side rendering and hydration. Like I've built like one production Next.js app, but everything else I've built in production is decoupled. It's just a completely client-side React or Vue app, and then a backend Express API. So something like Quick is server-side rendered, requires a server-side runtime, and I don't really do that. But at some point, I'll look into some of these tools that do all that stuff. Yeah. Welcome in, Oscar. Why isn't WebAssembly replacing JavaScript? Mainly because WebAssembly, you don't ever write WebAssembly directly. Like it's I mean, you could, but it'd be very hard to do. So typically when you see WebAssembly used, they used some other programming language that got turned into WebAssembly. So they could have used C++, or I think there's even like Python WebAssembly compilers and stuff like that. So they used a lower level language that then compiled into WebAssembly. But the same reason that those lower level languages never replaced JavaScript. Like JavaScript is very approachable. And it's probably never going away. Even with all of the TypeScript in the world, it's probably never going away. So there will be things that require high performance in the browser, and those will use WebAssembly. But everything else, everything else still will be in JavaScript. Java versus Python, no comparison. They do very different things. And I'll remind you all, if you use these fonts, it's really hard to read your messages. My sins are my own, in Papyrus of all fonts. Okay. So here are some options of things we're going to work on today. The first is we're going to change Style Guidus to be Storybook. The thing is, if we choose this, it's going to be the whole stream. It'll be the whole stream of me either setting up Storybook or reviewing a PR of somebody who set up Storybook. But if you check out Sprout Kit, which is basically all of the components that I've defined, that I've created for this overlay here. So this is an Electron app that's using those components inside of it, and then in this overlay, these are the same components but inside of a web view, and that web view is running inside of OBS. But the components are reusable, and so this page is kind of like documentation for the components. It shows you the avatar component, the chat card component. It shows you how you can use the user info component, how you can set badges and stuff like that. So this is really cool because it's like a documentation. It has the source code next to it, all of that good stuff. But this is using a thing called Vue Style Guidist, which I believe is built on top of React Style Guidist. But also, they had a commit 2 hours ago. Why do they? So they have all of these recent commits, but one of the main reasons I wanted to move away from them is I have some security vulnerabilities in my dependencies listed right now. Maybe they haven't published a newer version, but that was one of the main reasons I wanted to move away from this, is because it looked like it was somewhat abandoned, and I was going to use something that is more used by more people, like Storybook. But one of the I'll show you the code really quick, because one of the things that I really like about Style Guidus is it gives you a doc element in any given component. So for example, if I have this SK avatar component, I can define, and I'm using Vue.js, so I can define my template. I've got some Typescript errors and accessibility errors, but we'll fix those eventually. But I can define my template like this. I've got my TypeScript code, I've got my style code, and then there's a docs element, and then I can just use Markdown. And I use this Markdown to create all of the examples, and these examples are what actually show up here. So I really like this idea of creating the examples with Markdown right embedded. Like, this is all of the configuration I needed. I don't need a separate storybook file or anything like that. So I really liked this, but right now we have quite a few vulnerabilities, and I just thought that the project was abandoned. So maybe there's a newer version of Vue Style Guidance. Make my own? No. We're not in Dino world right now. Because, yeah, so I will update these. So I don't want to update Socket.io or TS Loader, but I can upgrade my ESLint config, and I can upgrade Electron and Sass. But for whatever reason, they haven't published. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing, right, Stotney? And I think you have it. Like none of this code is actually running in production. All of my documentation code is just a standalone website, and even then, like, the vulnerabilities are in packages that are part of the build process that aren't actually front end code. Oh, you found webdings. What'd you have to do? I think people were trying earlier. Yeah, for whatever reason that didn't work earlier, but it works. Webdings. So yeah, and actually there's a really good blog post that Dan Abramov made a while back about NPM vulnerabilities and how what did I just do? And how scary they sound, but at the end of the day, they're really just build dependencies that wouldn't even be getting deployed to your site after you've bundled it and such. It's definitely on his overreact. NPM audit, broken by design. This is it. It's a good blog post, good read. And it describes this problem exactly, because we have all these vulnerabilities, but we can see that glob parent. So glob is a tool, is a way of like selecting specific files based on regular expressions. That's something that's going to happen in the build process. It's not going to be on the deployed website. But this is depended on by Chakadar, which is dependent on Matchpack, which is dependent on by Webpack, which is dependent on by Webpack Dev Server, which is dependent on by React Style Guidance, which is dependent on by Vue Style Guidance. So this is the source of the vulnerability is that specific library. I'm curious though, because their GitHub repo seems to have a lot of activity, but I don't think they've published to NPM in a while. Yeah, so people have asked about Quick. It seems cool. It seems very cool, but again, it's another server-side rendering technology, and I just don't do server-side rendering. Okay, maybe this is the issue. Maybe because I'm using Vue Style Guidance CLI? Vue CLI plugin Style Guidance. And that hasn't been updated. That might be my issue. Honestly, we might just remove this and then directly add I guess we could look at their GitHub repo to see what dependency they have on Vue Style Guidance. Yeah, we allowed SVGs for a while, but then we here's an interesting thing. So if you look into the SVG spec, you can embed images. And so when we found that out, we were like, whoa, we definitely need to stop that, because we allow images, but only from trusted users. And I have an allow list where I have CDNs that the images can come from. But in SVG, there are, I think, at least 2, maybe 3 different elements with a different name that can all load images. So when we found that out, we're like, okay, we're just going to disable SVG, because there's so many things that we don't know about it that people could find and exploit. Yeah. So if you're a VIP and you have a CDN, if you send it to me, I'll add it to the list. Okay. Do they? Yeah. This is a mono repo. They have packages. They have the Vue CLI plugin style guidist. It is currently version 4.45.1, and I have that version. Is there a website where I could plug in an npm dependency and just see if this dependency has vulnerabilities? I guess Sneak would probably, or Snick would probably let me do that, huh? I can inspect this package on Sneak. Yeah. Glad to hear it, Dark Emperor Hound. It's just funny that you had a pretty wholesome comment, and you're the Dark Emperor. Honestly, watching your streams recently gave me a bigger picture on development and coding while I'm still learning. Yeah, I mean, if you tuned in yesterday, it was just me reading docs and figuring out how to use existing tools, with a little bit of CSS sprinkled on top of that. But that's what developers do. We read docs, we search the web, we just figure things out. Can I... There was an attempt. Yeah, that's what'll happen if you try to embed an image and you're not allowed to. No, there were no TS ignores yesterday. That was the day before. Does anyone know? Can anyone send me a link? How can I check a specific package for vulnerabilities? That was a 1 pixel image track. Yeah, I think we don't, because we don't allow base 64 images either, so it won't even interpret them. You have a PR? Oh, actually, yeah, don't even DM me. Make a pull request. If you... npm audit does... Depends on vulnerable version of... Okay, so this is Vue style guidance, I guess, is vulnerable. So, like, I just wanted to see specifically that dependency, because right now we have a dependency on it, but it's an indirect dependency, because we're dependent on the plugin, which is in turn dependent on the package itself. Well, I'm going to merge it, but all I'm saying is drills, make a PR just like Oscar just did, because they probably added that to the list. So here's the thing, like, even Oscar reminded me of this. They were like, hey, what you do is you gain their trust. You gain their trust by being useful and helpful, and then when you're ready to strike, you do. So it's possible that they've added themselves to this whitelist. Actually, this is an old PR. We changed the name. Did I not push up? Oh, there's going to be a merge conflict. I need to push up the latest changes. We changed it from whitelist to allow list. Allow list is more inclusive language. Rename allow list. Fix nesting. I could have sworn I committed this. Okay, there's going to be a merge conflict now. So fix your merge conflict, Oscar. But regardless, yeah, Oscar's been gaining my trust, and this is definitely not just a proxy to Imager, exactly. Okay, what are we doing? I guess I'm just talking. It's nothing really matters anyways. We're here. Sorry about that, Dr. Strangeloop. Yeah, people have been complaining a lot about the number of ads on Twitch. The thing is, like, so I did update my ad settings. Basically, I made it so that it will automatically play ads about every 30 minutes so that people don't get pre-roll ads whenever they come into my stream. But if you're getting an ad, just let me know, and I'll be sure to not say anything important while that's happening. But also, you could either... So if you subscribe to me, you won't get ads. Or if you subscribe to Twitch Turbo, you won't get ads anywhere on Twitch. So that's a thing. But also, yeah, if you get an ad, let me know. I'll stop saying important things. Not like I say important things anyways. What am I doing? I am just very curious why there are so many gosh darn vulnerabilities reported here. August 23rd, they mentioned this. These dependencies are on React style guidance, and I cannot update them myself. What I can do is upgrade React style guidance. Yeah, I mean, and they even just linked the exact blog post that I was talking about earlier. What is socket.dev? Never heard of that. Secure your JavaScript supply chain. Well, what about this package? Better NPM audit. Never heard of it. Well, this looks pretty cool. It has 50,000 weekly downloads. Let's try it. I mean, I can literally just run it with npx, can't I? Yeah, so Pi-hole will block ads at DNS, but I think the way Twitch does ads is they are actually served from the same place that serves the stream itself, so it's really hard for a blocking thing to do that. Now this is cool, but apparently my font is way too big. Let's try again. Oh yeah, you can hear stuff outside that's happening. This is kind of broken. But all of these vulnerabilities come from view style guys. I guess I don't have to care. Is it? And I guess is it also that React style guidance isn't updated at all? I mean, it was updated 17 days ago. Oh well. Yeah, so I mean, the other thing was Storybook, but I like the developer experience of Vue Style Guide better. Because I like that my documentation is just sitting right next to my components, and I can just use Markdown. With Storybook, there's a lot more code involved. It seems like there's like a Storybook file, and you have to create instances of a component rather than just like putting it in Markdown. Yeah, it is a dev dependency. We've been talking about that. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because those dependencies are not used in the actual built version of the app. So maybe we don't even worry about it. We just spent 15 minutes talking about it. Let's lower the priority. Let's find something that will have high value. All right, emote height and alignment. If you send a multi-line message that has emotes, they're not lined up in the best way. Nobody's done it. See, that's why I think also this is low priority, because it doesn't happen that often and it actually doesn't bother me. Can someone send an example? Want some lorem ipsum. Yeah, like that. Thanks everyone. So you can see that we have text mixed with emotes mixed with text. And so what people are complaining about is this little bit of space right here between this line and the next. But like I just said, I don't think it's that big a deal. Emotes and emojis, yeah, either one. I think they get rendered in a similar way. I mean, I could do a line item center, but honestly, actually, I don't know if I could. It's not that easy. It's really not that easy because I guess it would technically, if I made it a flex box, I could do flex wrap and then a line item center. But the thing is, so this is a view component that is then rendering an HTML string. So I don't have as much control over it. I don't know. I'm lowering the priority on that one too. This could be fun. Yeah, that's a good representation of what the bug looks like. I don't even think it's a bug. I think it's more of a style preference, but I'm okay with how this looks because it doesn't happen that often. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set a 5-minute timer to just put a flex box on it, and if we can't figure it out in 5 minutes, I'm gonna move on. Everyone copy Dr. Strangeloop's message. And please keep sending that to me over the next 5 minutes. Here we go. Let's try to write some code. So this specifically is going to be in the SK chat card. And right here, this span, which loads the sanitized message as HTML, it has a class of message. So if we look at our CSS and we look at message, we could potentially make it a flex box. Let's see what this does. So I'll save that. And it does nothing. And then the issue is, I think there actually is like a nested p tag inside of that. So the markdown renderer actually puts it in a p tag. Do I need the ampersand here in Sass? Now I don't even know because I've been using post CSS. I don't think I need the ampersand there, right? Don't need it. Okay. Let's actually let's see what's happening here. So we have message with a p tag. Oh, and that's where we need this deep. So I need to say this is a deep p tag, I think. And so this deep thing has to do with the fact that we're in Vue.js and these are scoped styles, and I'm trying to target something that gets rendered later and like technically isn't at the top there. But so here we have these spans with data wrapper, and that's how we targeted this. But it doesn't look like this style is being applied because I don't even see the flexbox on here. So let me just refresh, make sure the styles are actually getting loaded. Okay, that did something. You can see this has messed up every message. So yeah, that kind of did something. So yeah, it is a flexbox now. Cool. And I don't think I want justify content center. I want a line item center. That doesn't look half bad. That looks pretty good, actually. See what Alka said? Try out your chat? Oh, this is the one you've been working on. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Now people are going to troll me like this. My guess is that you have a parent element. Right? Why does it not work on this one? Oh, you know what? Your styles might be different because you are not yet a trusted user. So that's why your message backgrounds are a little bit different. Is because you are not trusted. I mean, if you follow the channel, you'll be trusted after a little while. So why does that one not get a paragraph wrapper? Oh. So technically, I should put those styles on the message as well, just in case things are at the top level. Oh, I changed it. It shouldn't be justify content. It should be align items. All right, that's the 5 minutes. I don't think I have sufficiently broken anything. I think if anything, we made it a little bit better. Right? It's a little bit better. One's in chat if this is better. And then, yeah, like XHtree, did you use like a, I swear you did like a center tag or something like that. Yeah, you did span align center. I think everything that wasn't these messages still looks okay. But then when there are emotes, it's a little bit better. I got 1 in chat. Do you not appreciate the flexbox that I just did here? And what's up, Anpace? It says, I'm completely new in the developer world. I know HTML and CSS. I switched to Sass a few weeks ago. I would like to understand if there is a path/best practice to build an environment for custom Sass and HTML projects. Someone said React, someone said Vue, someone said Vite in Visual Studio Code with Sass auto refresh. And may I ask if you would just give me some advices on some point where I could start properly? Yeah, I'll give you advice on how you could do this without React or without Vue. Because what you actually need, and so, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're new to the development world, you know HTML and CSS, but you're trying to move past that. And so you learned about Sass, you want to use it, but the thing about Sass is it requires developer tooling. It requires like a developer setup, development setup with command line tools that can turn that Sass into CSS and stuff like that. Is that accurate? Is that accurate of where you're at? And I would argue that like React and Vue are actually overkill because you are a beginner. Like there's no use in you learning those things because that's not what you're trying to learn. You want to learn Sass. You don't want to have to learn Vue or React just to do some Sass. Is that accurate? Yeah, and so these days we don't use Grunt anymore. I mean, you technically could use Grunt, but we use Vite. Neat. I need to hear from Anpace though, but I'll show you how to get set up with it, and it's actually incredibly easy. Who is we? Wait, what? I just mean the collective we. Like most people are moving to Vite. Vite is the new hotness. It technically uses ES build under the hood, but oui. But Anpace, I need to hear from you. You have 30 seconds to respond or we move on. Just say yes or say no. Or say hello. Yeah, and definitely don't use Tailwind. If you're brand new, don't. No, you need more practice with with CSS and CSS. Oh, you already tried it? Yeah, then you're on the right path. So I will say, like, Vite isn't the only thing you can use, but the thing that you are searching for is a build tool or a build process. I will actually recommend Coder on YouTube, because she did a video on setting up Sass, but she just used, I think she still used Gulp or something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's a 3-hour tutorial on Sass, but she did one a while back on just, like, setting up a project. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, are people still using that? But, like, at the end of the day, you just need a build tool. So, browser sync, Sass, and Gulp in 15 minutes. Yeah, so she shows how to set this up. I would argue that, I mean, it's honestly, like, easier to set up Vite. And I would recommend using Vite because most people are using it. But, and also, first of all, let's just appreciate the amount of motion design that she has in her videos. I believe her husband is a motion designer, but check this out.
Make a Gulp video, I always get comments from people asking for a browser sync tutorial. If you've been one of those people, well, today's your lucky day, because in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up browser sync in your Gulp workflow. And if you're not one of those people and you haven't used browser sync before, well, here's what it's all about. Browser sync is a powerful tool that makes it easy to test your website while you're building it. It works by spinning
never mind.
up a
There's no
local
motion design, but regardless, there's that video for reference. I will play you one that has some motion design in it because it's pretty spectacular, the kind of stuff that they do. And she is a good coder. She's a coder. I like this one. Yeah, she's on a blue screen.
Debugging? Rubber ducks? What does a bath toy have to do with your code? Well, let's get into it and find out. There are two types of people in the world. People who hate debugging, and liars.
Ain't that the truth?
It's no fun to see your code not work, especially after hours.
Okay, so there's other motion design too, but it's a great, definitely sub to that channel. But so I would recommend Vite just because it's the latest and greatest. This is what most people are using anyway. Like, another option would be Webpack, but Webpack is falling out of favor for Vite. For a while, Parcel JS was the way to go because it was like zero config. And that's really what we like, is zero configuration. I just want to get up and going without a bunch of config, and Vite lets you do that. And then there's Rollup, which you could use standalone, but does require some configuration to get it up and going. Whereas Vite basically, on the surface, hides that configuration from you and gives you the basic setup that you need. Because you can look like once you generate a Vite app. All you need to do is install Sass as a dev dependency, and then you can just start using Sass. Like, you're just, like, ready to go. Gulp is the one that she used. This one, I mean, people still use it, but it is older. It's known as, like, the streaming development tool, because you can, or streaming pipeline, because you can stream file changes and various plugins. And before that, there was a thing called Grunt, which is a task runner, and it wasn't streaming. So Grunt was around, and then Gulp replaced it, and then Webpack came out. It was the big thing for the longest time. Some things are still using Webpack. And then Parcel came out, and we were like, whoa, this is great, it's zero config. Then Webpack version 4 came out, which was zero config as well. Now I think we're on Webpack version 5, but regardless, just use Vite. That's the solution to all this, is to just use Vite. And if you look at the getting started, you can generate a vanilla app. So if you run this command and just say, I want to use vanilla.js, you'll be up and going. And then if you look at the features, they tell you how you can start using Sass. And at the end of the day, what it's going to do is, well, first of all, you get hot reloading and auto refresh. So whenever you are developing, it's going to automatically refresh the browser anytime there are changes that are made. So that's great. You want that. And then it's also going to give you a build command that you can run, and that will turn all of your Sass and all of your other various codes into code that you can deploy somewhere, like CSS. Cool. So you mentioned that you started using Vite, so I would just say stick with it. That this is definitely the way to go. Yeah, and that's not to say that, projects don't still use all of those other tools that I mentioned. It's just that pretty much any new stuff that's getting spun up uses Vite because it works really well, it's super fast, and it has a lot of really good defaults. And also, this is super interesting that when you highlight the word Vite, it just disappears. It just disappears. Do I ever get bored by building CRUD apps and front ends and wish I did something else? No, I mean, like lately I've been building pretty basic stuff, but when I'm not streaming, I build more complex things that I don't have to try to explain while I'm building them. Yeah, you're welcome, Ann Pace. I know that, like, the thing is, as a beginner, it can be daunting, especially when you have a lot of dissenting, I don't know if that's the right word. You have a lot of opinions being thrown at you, where someone's like, you chose V, you should be using Webpack. What are you doing? You know, like, it doesn't, like, honestly, you could have picked any one of those tools, but really your goal is to set it up so that it can use Sass. It doesn't do it in Chrome. Maybe it's a Firefox thing. Can I flex about some complex things? I've been working on, I don't know if it's that complex, but one of the issues we've been running into with our Dino Fresh app, and not issues, it really manifested in the last episode when we were working on it, were ways of styles, right? Ways of doing different styling solutions inside of Fresh, because by default, they only support Tailwind, and they have like a core plugin for Tailwind. But I was slowly realizing that I didn't like Tailwind. I didn't want to use Tailwind. And so I was figuring out other ways of getting styling solutions into Fresh. So, I mean, it's not that complex, but I have been digging into the internals of a lot of different tools, and I have some proof of concepts. So, Uno CSS is an alternative for Tailwind. It's plugin based, and they have a lot of other things that you can do. But the issue with the the way they started to allow you to create plugins for Fresh is that those plugins need to run synchronously. They cannot be asynchronous because of the way that they do server-side rendering, it needs to happen in a specific order, and it can't be asynchronous. So the plugins that you write, like the Twind or the Tailwind plugin that they have for Fresh, runs synchronously. And I wanted to use Uno CSS instead, but there's no way of running it synchronously. Everything is asynchronous, and you can even look at their issues. Someone, I think specifically, I think it might have been someone that was, maybe not. But they opened an issue, and then the creator of the library was like, yeah, that's just not something we can do because it has to be asynchronous. Well, you know what? I made it synchronous. So I pulled down Uno CSS. I found the file that does the actual generation. And I was like, all right, what if we just start ripping out the async await and then just replacing everywhere that's doing asynchronous stuff and specifically make a synchronous version? So I have a working synchronous version of Uno CSS, and then I built a plugin for Fresh. It's really hacky. Like I did it in just a couple of hours because I wanted to see if it was even possible. But at least for basic plugins and like a basic setup of Uno CSS, I got it working synchronously, and then I created a plugin for Fresh with that. Yeah, it's just gonna need some more work before I actually like release it and make it before it's useful for other people. The other thing is that Fresh actually is working on letting you do asynchronous plugins, and once they release that, there would be no need for a synchronous version. You could use the async one, but there's a PR on the Fresh repo that's been open for I think like 12 or 15 days at this point that hasn't been merged yet, because there's a little bit of back and forth on how asynchronous plugins should actually work. Yeah, so it was opened 12 days ago. It hasn't been merged yet. Really, once it gets merged, we won't need the synchronous thing that I wrote. So honestly, I might just use it as like a little hacky thing in the meantime. But the other thing is I wanted to be able to use CSS modules inside of Dino and Fresh. And the thing is, CSS modules are not yet a browser standard, and so Dino was never going to let you just directly import a CSS file like you can when you're working in like a Webpack app or an ESBuild app or a Vite app, because it has custom loaders that see that CSS import and then run it through tools and such. And Dino they're pretty much never going to do that because they're really only supporting web standards. So I found this thing called Lightning CSS. which is actually from the creators of Parcel. But this is a CSS parser, transformer, bundler, and minifier written in Rust. And it can handle CSS modules. So I wrote like this little build tool that actually runs while your Dino app is running. And if it sees a CSS module, like a module.css file, it'll actually in real time compile it into a TypeScript file that has the exported CSS code and the exported CSS module names. And so I spent a while figuring out how to do that, because this would be another solution. Like, instead of using something like Uno CSS, you could use this, and then you could have CSS modules. The only issue is, like, it's a little weird. Like, so the whole idea of Fresh is, like, there is no build step, and that's one of the beauties of it. Like, there's no build. Basically, the code that you write is going to be the code that gets deployed. However, if you want things like CSS modules or things that need a build, and the Shebas, thank you very much for the sub. If you want things like that, then you need a build process of some kind. So I basically wrote a little function that has a file system watcher, and you call it in your main Fresh file. And basically, if it detects that there are changes to a file called something.module.css, it'll in real time compile it into actual TypeScript code with the CSS code and the imports. But I don't know how people will feel about that, because it's basically generating code in your code base. It's not like a build folder. It literally generates a TypeScript file, like right next to your CSS file. It works, but it seems weird. But that was another thing I was working on. And then another thing I was looking into was JSS, because I used, and it's super performant. Like, Lightning CSS is so fast, so fast. I mean, I haven't run any benchmarks or anything like that, but we could probably throw like a huge CSS file at it just to see what it, like, how it would slow down the build or anything like that. But for the simple stuff that I was doing, it seemed fine. But regardless, I used to use JSS. And Kuzi, thank you very much for that gift. Is the JSS logo a joke? I think so. Like, in a way, it's kind of like CSS, but it's JavaScript. The thing is, like, I used this for I used React JSS. Like, so this is actually a really unpopular opinion in the world of React styling solutions. Like, people do not like CSS and JS. I do. and for a long time, Material UI actually allowed you to do your styles in this way. But this works out of the box with Fresh, because it's basically a JavaScript runtime that can load styles. So you don't even need to do anything special to get this working with Fresh. I created a plugin for it so that you wouldn't have to manually put the rendered CSS into the head. Basically, the plugin sees whenever there's a style registration, and then when the render runs, it automatically injects that CSS. So this is another possible solution. But all of that to say, like, this was fun for me. I was doing this in my spare time, spending a few hours, like, digging into these libraries and seeing how they do things and figuring stuff out. You fixed the PR for SproutKit? So those kinds of things I probably could have done on stream, but also I think stream would have been too distracting. And I don't necessarily feel like I can spend a few hours, or like even spend like 5 minutes not talking because I'm like trying to read or figure something out. Why is there a conflict? Are you kidding me? There's no way. Git is saying, oh, this empty line is a conflict. There's no way that Git cannot figure out how to merge this. Oh, you know what it is? I think you need to rebase. I think. I don't even know what a rebase is, but I'm pretty sure this is a scenario where you would rebase. Because I think in your commits, you literally change the name of the file rather than pulling in the changes from yeah, so instead of doing this, you should have done a git pull. But now that you haven't done a git pull, you should actually do a rebase, I guess. That's what all you need to do, Oscar, is just say git pull and then resolve the conflict locally and then push up. That's all you need to do. Yeah. So yeah, I do like doing more. I mean, and what's interesting is like that's what all the stuff that I just talked about are all they're CSS solutions. But they still required quite a bit of like research and like figuring things out just to like get them working. But that stuff's fun for me. And I am working on internal coding garden apps. Like I'm working on an app that's going to replace this, and it's a pretty big endeavor because I'm essentially creating like a course style website that lets you navigate all of my YouTube videos. And so that's a good bit of work, but I'm not doing that on stream because I don't know why, because I want to work on it in my spare time. That's the other issue of like picking things to work on stream. On stream is if we don't get something done, then usually I postpone it till like the next stream, and then I have to wait before I work on it. Like I don't want to have to schedule working on the thing around when I'm going to be streaming. Yeah. I thought about that, Metalb, but I don't know. Yeah, it'll still be open source. MIT license everything. Like that's my legacy. That's like, what have I done for the world? I created a few hundred MIT open source projects that maybe somebody learned something from or got some use out of. But yeah, it'll be open source. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing that I did with the Coding Garden API. Like, I didn't build this API on stream, mainly because I was dealing with, like, Patreon API keys and Twitch API keys and stuff like that. So, you definitely learned something from them? That's good, that's good. Oh, I mean, actually, I didn't mention this, but I got a huge flex. I got invited into the GitHub sponsors program. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's joined yet. And you don't have to, like, if you're subbed on Twitch, you're supporting me. If you're a member on YouTube, you're supporting me. If you're a patron on Patreon, you're supporting me. All of those are ways of supporting me, but this is just one more way of supporting me. You technically can give me money now on GitHub. So that got enabled. Wait, why did you close it? Oscar, you didn't need to close the pull request. Okay. Dr. Strangeloop, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Did you even follow Dr. Strangeloop? Or you subbed before you followed? That's funny, but I appreciate the support. There we go. Oh, that's the issue. That's the issue, is that we added, this recent push added David's URL. I think GitHub just charges like transaction fees, similar to like what Stripe. At least that's my understanding. They're not. I mean, yeah, I guess that's actually a good point. Like technically, GitHub is going to give me more money than a Twitch sub, because I only get a certain percentage of the Twitch sub. But yeah, I have to pull the changes down. It's not that instant. And then I actually have to restart the, oh, that's true. It is doing the flex wrap. I believe I have to completely restart the Electron app because the background process literally blocks network requests, and the background process is the thing that needs to restart. Though technically, I think if I just change the background file, it will reload. Yeah, like that. I guess you couldn't see it. There it is. Okay, random question. You have a Zod schema. It's a person object that will be sent to a person table in the database. Do I need to include primary keys and foreign keys in the schema? It depends, right? So, that schema is potentially going to be used for multiple things. And so this gets into the idea of a DAO, or like a data access object. And there's some other acronyms, like a data request object and a data response object, in that there's one schema that describes how something should look when it goes into your database. That's one. There's another schema that describes what data should look like when it's being sent as a post request. That's potentially another separate schema. There's another schema that describes what the data should look like when you're sending it in a response. Like, for instance, you would actually hide or remove passwords if you're dealing with like a user object. So the answer is it depends. It depends on when and where you're trying to use that schema. Because in the case where you're inserting into the database, you probably, and if it's a foreign key, with a foreign key constraint, then you need to make sure that there's a value on that foreign key ID column, for instance. And so you would have a schema that would validate against that. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, you're going to end up with a lot of schemas. There are ways that where you can share, right? So you can create a base schema that has all of the properties and validators that everything is going to need, and then you can extend that to have various other properties based on the other schemas that you need. But yeah, that's one of the issues, is you end up with a bunch of different validators and schemas. Yeah. You get 200% from GitHub sponsors? Where's my 200%? Okay. We actually got something done today, so that's cool. I was too late. Yeah. All right, let's talk about this. U.S. state flags. So right now, if you're new here, you may not know this, but you can set your flag in the overlay. And hello, Louise Depp. I'm going to single you out. You can set your flag in the overlay. It doesn't have to be where you're actually from. You could just pick a country. But in the chat, if you do !flag followed by a 2-character country code, that will put a flag next to your chat messages. Like this. Or like this. But right now, we only support countries. So the idea is we could also support U.S. state flags. And then that would let people living in the United States set their state flag. And then after we finish that, then eventually we would want people to be able to set their country flag, and maybe their province or state flag from other countries as well. So what that means is we potentially start a repo of flags, because there probably isn't one that exists out there that's essentially, because there's a lot of flags in the world, right? And you not only do you have the countries, you have potentially the provinces or the states, and then within that you have counties or parishes, or like it's broken down even further, and then within that you have cities, and each one of those levels of places might actually have a flag. Oh dang it, I'm sorry. Flags. Sorry everyone. Yeah. Oh cool. What flag is that? That looks like the Dart logo. Tanzania. Very cool. Yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, even a small town could have a flag. I apologize, everyone. I did not do that on purpose. Okay. We could do some research. Yeah, so I'll like this. This probably exists. I mean, obviously it does exist, but we could see at what level of flags do they actually have. A curated collection of country flags in SVG, plus the CSS for easier integration. Oh, this is just countries. We already have this. We want states and provinces. My to-dos are not in a repo, no. It's just a local directory with a bunch of files inside of it. Country and state flags from around the world. Oh, you saw some provinces on that one? This is other flags. I mean, like, for instance, like, they don't have Colorado, which is the state that I live in the United States. That website did look very sketchy. Let's see what we got. Okay, so we have, I'm guessing these are countries, so this would be like Germany, and then various places in Germany. What about, yeah, so they have the U.S., and then they do have all of the U.S. flags, so this is pretty cool. This could work. So, like, for instance, CO is Colorado. This should be the Colorado flag. There it is. So this could work. For countries and subdivisions, the flags are all named according to the ISO 3166 Alpha 2 for easy use in applications. You can download the entire repository, or you can access the individual flags via that. Yeah, so if, for instance, if I did this /us.png, that should give me the US flag, and it does. And do they support HTTPS? Let's see. They don't. That's unfortunate. we technically, we could host this repo ourselves, though. There's nothing wrong with that. It does have 10 forks. Here's the thing. Does it have every... The France directory is a mess? Oh. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like, this would be a good candidate to fork. I think it has the MIT license on it. It has no license. Okay, we can't fork it. I mean, technically, I think they said... most of these flags are public domain images. Flags that are not freely licensed are listed in special licenses. Everything else in the repository that is not an image is licensed under the MIT license. Okay. They don't have the Indian flag? No way. It's there. Should be anyways. Yeah, there it is. The Colorado directory has Denver and Colorado Springs, but not the state flag? Wait, there's a Colorado directory? So, first of all, there's a US directory. And then inside of the US directory, there is Colorado. I don't think, like, Denver technically does have a flag. I don't think that's even listed in here. SVG, US. Oh, okay, so the SVGs go even deeper. So, like, you have all of the flags. So you have, like, the Denver flag, which is this. Pretty cool. And then the Colorado Springs flag. But then, do they not just have the Colorado flag? Yeah, so I think here's the issue. This repo is not completely consistent, so I think what we can do is we will start our own repo, and we will have people make a request to add their specific flag. And that way, first of all, beginners can get experience making pull requests. Also, we're almost in October, so for Hacktoberfest, people can make PRs to add their specific country or city flags. But basically, we will slowly build up our repo based on all of the pull requests that people make. How do we feel about that? Does accessing folder, maybe? Oh yeah, and then, so yeah, let me show people what we mean by that. So if you look at the Colorado, the Denver, Colorado flag, it's basically mountains. With a little sun in the background. And so I used to run the Vue.js Denver meetup, and then I designed our logo, which looks like the Denver flag, but it uses Vue logos, or Vue Vs. Yeah. Okay, SVG's US directory has all the US state flags. Okay. Yeah, since the pandemic and everything like that, we stopped running it. A lot of the meetups in the Denver area have actually stopped running. And Bob, thank you for that Prime resub. I've gotten emails recently from Meetup.com that said the Full Stack Meetup was looking for a new organizer. The Denver Script Meetup stopped doing its thing, and then I think the React Meetup was moving to a different platform. I think the React Meetup is still going though. Eventually, I'd like to start it back up, but yeah. And Eds, thank you very much for that Prime sub as well. Repo with pull request would be the best way to go. I think so. Is there a way to look at existing forks? Is it on network? Forks. It's true, Yash, and it's pretty sad to think about. Yeah, it's possible that some of these are more maintained. Let's see. Up to date, 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 up to date. 43 commits ahead. Oh. All right, Rudy SH. What do you got for us? This might be the way to go. So they started making updates back in 2017, and then they've continued to make updates even last month. I'd be curious though. Did they fix the France directory? Yeah, it still has. So what is it? Is there can't be a oh, and then it's all dependabot. Yeah, but there can't be a province in France called two. Why doesn't this have the right abbreviation or the right name? Let's see. Oh, they're departments. Interesting. Okay. Oh, this shows you forks. I see. Cool. So that actually is a thing. So there is a department in France that has its own flag, and they are department number 2. Interesting. And where are you from, Silver Designs? In Estonia? What's the country code for Estonia? ES is Spain, right? EE? E, 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 E. Here. Nice. But yeah, so I think for any of the countries at the top level here, they don't have the states or the provinces. Okay. Oh, so there's a 02 in this directory, but there isn't a 01. I see. There are missing ones. Okay. So honestly, we could fork this repo, and then first of all, I would host it. So because this doesn't have HTTPS, so I would just deploy this entire repo to Versal, so that way we get HTTPS, and then we can load these SVGs and such in. And then if you want to make a change, you can make a pull request against that. Wait, what? Is this just a way to look at forks? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Strange Troop. I mean, it's something you got, when you're dealing with, outdated projects, it's something you got to learn to do for sure. I've done this in the past, just trying to find the most recent stuff. But yeah, if you go to the insights and then forks, you can see. But those tools that people are sharing are probably better because they literally tell you like who has the latest commits and stuff like that. But I think we should fork this repo. All in favor, type 1. What I think about showing how to make a TypeScript npm package? I mean, I could, but the only issue is it is not straightforward, and I would probably just use a tool to do it. So I have very few starred repos, but one of the starred repos that I did star is called tsdx. And so this is a zero config CLI for TypeScript package development. And so honestly, instead of making a tutorial, I would just say, go research this tool because they have a project generator that'll generate the project for you. And then it comes with all of the commands you would need to build it and publish it to npm, because that's one of the issues when you're building a TypeScript library is technically you need to publish, you don't need to, but you should publish a built version of it, and then you also want to make sure that you publish your TypeScript definitions, and so this project helps with that. All right, we're gonna fork this repo. Start from scratch? But they've done so much work. I mean, the thing is, like, instead of forking it, we could copy it and then manually do things. But I kind of want to give everyone in the chain credit, right? So 0x guy did the first. Rudy made some updates. And then we're going to make further updates that both of them could pull back in. Because basically, once this repo is on the Coding Garden organization, if you want to add your specific province or city's flag, we'll have a process for that. So you can make a PR, create a directory for the country if it doesn't exist yet, and then inside of the country, create a directory for the state if there are multiple flags, or just create a specific flag. Like, and then in my case, if we go into the Colorado folder, these are the flags that are cities in Colorado. And then in here, there should be, there's also an SVG that is the Colorado flag. So that's a thing. You can write a bot which is waiting for a command. When the command is posted by someone, this someone will receive a PM with a unique link, which can click and get their IP address. And you add stuff with, wait. It's too much. That's too much. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing is you probably, like, instead of using that TSDX thing that I shared, you could probably figure out how to do it with Vite, though it will require some roll-up configuration. And like I said earlier, I mean, I don't know why I'm linking Vite. You can go to Vite, but the main issue with creating a library is making sure that you're generating the right stuff to get published to npm. So. Courting Gord. Yeah, file types will be like the most deeply nested thing. So this one looks good for, oh. Why do they have images of the place? Interesting. Images. They have backgrounds, flags, maps, and seals. That's super interesting. Yeah, so I mean, this repo is nice, but it only is US flags. I think what's nice about this one is it has more than that. I think if you look at the Font Awesome cheat sheet, maybe maybe you'll find like a planet that you can put on there. Is this link broken now? Come on. Man. We want brands, and we want free. Great. Now, click that link. That works. And then we can search for, like, globe. World? You do WordPress. So apparently there's not a globe or a world on there. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to fork this repo. And for one, I'm going to deploy it to Versal. So that way we'll have HTTPS links, and then we'll figure out how to integrate it into our overlay. So give me a second. What's up, funny boy? Okay. I have never linked up a GitHub repo to Versal. I'm going to do that right now. Oh, I updated the link. I updated it. Do I want classic too? I don't think I do. Just brands and free. What's up, it's Shulman. I don't share my age. I usually say I'm 75 years old. Yeah, I'm between 2 and 123. Because you will be deploying from a GitHub organization, creating a Versal team is required for collaborating with others. What if I don't want to do that? I guess I could fork it to my personal account. But then people can't contribute. You know what? We won't have GitHub integration. That's all. I'm just going to go ahead and clone this down. That's a whole lot of images. Netlify? I don't think I even have a Netlify account. I guess I could. Netlify is better than Versal? Here, I'll put it in both places, and then you can choose where you want to host it. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fine. There's a lot of people from different cultures, like wherever they're from, it might be okay to ask someone's age. I'm not offended in any way. You did not offend me, it's Shulman. In general, I don't tell people how old I am. Oh, let me know when there's an ad. Is there an ad happening right now? There's nothing. There's nothing. Nothing important is happening. I'm just literally deploying this to Versal, which is going to give us. It should give us a static CDN for all of the SVGs and PNGs. Yeah. Yeah. And it varies D and bool, because I think more recently there is a. people are trying to be open about their salaries, which is good because in general that'll get people better salaries. But it wasn't always that way. It's taken a while. Let's see if we can deploy it to Netlify faster than the Versal deploy finishes. Oh no, it's done. Okay. So if we go here, then we go to SVG, and then us.svg. That works, and it's HTTPS. But we also could go to us/co/denver.svg. Look at that. Very good. USA. Cool. Yeah, so I've been a software developer for over 11 years now. And that's not including university and then the coding and stuff that I did before that. Yeah. Why did I go to Netflix? Oh, I was going to deploy it. It's fine. We're on Versal now. But now... So, I mean, I think that's a PR that could be made, is like making sure that they're all the same size. But when I put them in my overlay, they're just going to be tiny anyways. So what I want to allow you to do is do something like ! Flag, and then you will actually just pass in the path. So if you do SVG / so if you say ! Flag like this, I'll know where to find it. And then also if you go deeper, so let's say we go to France, and then we go to their province with the GP. Now, that loads there. Yeah, Puerto Rico should be on here. We can see. I mean, and technically you can do that right now because we currently have country flags. So if you do ! Flag, I think PR is the country code for Puerto Rico. That should work. But what we're adding now are provinces and states. Yeah, that'd be all right. We just have to parse it, and then we have to figure out a way to make sure that it actually exists over here. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it. So for instance, if we go to US, or not US, I guess technically Puerto Rico is Puerto Rico a US state? Puerto Rico. And look at that. So if you're from San Juan, you'd actually, we haven't implemented this yet, but technically you could use the San Juan flag. Like that. Or if you just wanted Puerto Rico, we could do that. Like that. Yeah. Now, how do I get the country name on hover? I don't know. I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, we probably also now we need to update this repo with like a JSON file that has like the actual country abbreviation and country names. Yeah. Oh, there you go. You got the Puerto Rico flag. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. Let's add some issues. I think I have to probably enable issues in settings. Cool. Now we've got issues. New issue. Create a full name map. There should be a JSON file that maps abbreviations to full country and province, or country and what's the general name for like a province or a state? That maps country codes to country codes and region codes. I like region. There should be a JSON file that maps country codes and region codes to full names. I'm open to suggestions on the format, but it should be collaboratable and I don't know, but but it should be easily consumable by code. There we go. What's another issue that we have with this repo? Do we really consider it an issue that the flags aren't all the same size? Some flags in the SVG folder are larger than others. Normalize flag sizing. Normalized size would make things more consistent. Okay. Yeah, and I think part of the full name map, this mapping should include if the flag requires a special license. How would I handle countries no longer existing? I'm not going to worry about that. Because that doesn't happen that often, does it? All right. Honestly, it would be pretty fun to just generate our own like blank version of the JSON, and then we would need to slowly fill it in with the real names. I guess technically we also could use the ISO country lookup to get the full name. So it has flags, it has countries that don't exist anymore. That's actually a thing. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to generate a JSON file that has basically the entire SVG directory structure with metadata that then can be filled in later if we don't have the full metadata. So let's do that. I'm going to make a directory called scripts, and we'll write the code inside of there. Oh, all of the flags don't have the same aspect ratio? That's unfortunate. Okay. Create metadata JSON. So this is going to read in, and I guess honestly, we're just going to depend on SVG. I think we're going to kind of ignore mini because we could generate flags based on SVG, and I think the SVG folder has a lot more flags than the mini folder. Is there a football game happening right now? Q year? Are those footballs? Oh, the I see. The Switzerland flag is a square. That's what you're saying? I was like, wait, what are these game scores? What's the Switzerland country code? No worries. CH. You monsters! Why is your flag a square? I guess that makes sense, and I probably knew that. I've seen that flag a lot. And then what was the other aspect ratio? 11 to 28 is the Qatar. Is it just QA? This is more of a banner than a so interesting. But if we look at the source code, will it give us? Yeah. So actually, we could calculate. Oh, look, check this out. We could calculate the aspect ratio and put that in the metadata. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do as well. Okay. So first of all, let's just read in the SVG directory. Well, I need fs. Like that. And then I can do fs.read dir svg. And then I'm going to put this in a function. Create Metadata Json. This is going to be an async function. We are going to read the SVG directory in. We need to await it. Add a JSON schema. Let's figure out what this thing's going to look like before we come up with the schema. I mean, technically, that's what we're going to come up with the schema on the fly. Okay, so this reads in everything, and then for each one, it's either going to be a directory or like a top level country flag. So first of all, if it's a directory, yeah, so fs dot Nepal's aspect ratio is 5 billion to, or I don't even know what that whether, so that's million, trillion, 50 billion? I haven't tried Copilot, no. So I think Copilot is a little bit too helpful. And I teach things, and so I want to be able to describe stuff. And if I was using Copilot, it would do more than what I would be teaching. Those are promises, yeah. How do you check if something is a directory in Node? I guess we could just try catch a read dir. Or we could see if file includes a period. Then we know that it is a flag. Otherwise, it is a directory. Fs ls stat sync is directory. That's probably better. But also just seeing if there's a dot in it. Or see actually if it ends with SVG. I'm just going to do that. Easy. Easy. Oh, that's interesting. So we can actually get more information? I didn't know that. So now file has a bunch of stuff. So file.name is the thing, and then file.isDirectory is how we could do that. Okay. And then at this point, I'm just going to start using synchronous functions. I don't need promises in this scenario. Like this file is going to run once to generate the JSON, and we'll never look at it again. Okay, so if it is just a flag, we need to add it to our. Is the file a directory? That is pretty funny, isn't it? I mean, is there a better name for this? Do we call it items? Item? It's really weird not having Typescript errors. I've been doing so much Typescript lately. IsDirectory is a function? You're right. If I had Typescript, it would have told me. How do I get type checking in a JavaScript file? Can't I do like ts check or something like that? Oh, I missed the @ sign. There we go. And then it's like, hey. And then I'm like, oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, in this case, it should already have the types for FS. Yeah. Why not map them once and use the mapper afterwards? Skip the loop each time someone's using it. So this file, yeah, this file is just going to run one time. Why not import export? Because don't I have to name it like .c, and then I couldn't do this. I'd have to do this. Import fs, actually import promises as fs from fs, and then I thought I'd have to say that this is a module to be able to do this. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this actually runs. Okay. And then I have to do this. I've never even seen this syntax. Well, I think that's the winner. S4 taunt. Is the new thing? Yeah, I haven't even seen this before. Okay. We need the country's object. And I guess, honestly, it'll just be an array. We'll just make it an array of countries, but each country will have a code, which will be, we can grab from the file name, like US, and then it will have regions, which will be an array of nested items. Okay. Oh, it's from the ESM changes. I see. Yeah, I haven't even touched that stuff. But welcome in, Codex. Oh, I'm in Node 16 right now, though. This probably won't. Well, we'll see. I'll have to change my version to Node 18. Let's write the code. Okay, so if we found a flag, we're going to push a country into the countries directory. And then we'll also have image name. I mean, it should just be .svg. It's going to be .svg for everything. But the thing I'm up against is there's a folder with the name US, but there's also a file with the name US. And I would assume... Wait, there's an unknown? What are you doing with unknown? That's cool. Nice they thought that they thought of that. But all of that to say, I don't know if they have a directory for... Actually, I don't think they do. There's only directory for ones where that actually have regions. So if we come across a directory, we will create a new country. So I'll say countries.push an object that has the name of the item and regions, which starts off as an empty array, like that. Item.name. Why is Typescript complaining? Oh, code, not name. You know, Typescript is pretty helpful sometimes. And really, I kind of want a little function that says, like, get country. And then, honestly, it would actually make more sense for this to be a map rather than just an array. So from country code to country object. And well, I can't use typings because we're not in TypeScript, but I can declare the type with a JS comment, can I? So get country, and then we'll create a little function, get country, that will look it up or create it. So we'll say if countries.get code, return countries.get code. Like this. So set it, put it here, return it. Cool. So we grab the country. If it was just a flag, we just need to put it into the set. We don't even need to, because if it's a directory, we need to go into that directory and find all of the regions. But if it wasn't a directory, then in this case, it's just a top-level country. Easy. And then at this point, if we just log countries dot values, that should give us a big ol' array of all of the top level countries. All right, let's see if it works. Node. Cannot use import statements outside of a module. That's what I thought. What do they use SVGO for? And do they even have code in here? Oh, right, yeah, if I just do MJS, then I don't need to change the whole project type. Hey! Nice. So this is what I was expecting. So these items, and I'll have to fix that. These items that have an empty regions array don't have a folder, but if they have a regions array, then it has a folder that we need to go into and grab the specific regions. That's a good sign. But what we need to do here is we need to split on a period and grab the first item. So that way we have the country codes. That's awesome. We also we want to grab the country metadata. So we have the code, but we could also put like the proper name on there. And I think I have a JSON file somewhere that does that. Like if I look in my API and I go into source lib, get countries. I don't think I'm even calling an API here. I think yeah, so there's literally a countries.json file right there. And that has all of the country metadata from the countries API that used to exist, but now it's behind a paywall, but that's why I just put it into a JSON file. Okay, I want to require this file in and just use it here. I mean, technically we could copy the file over. Let's copy the file over. Cool. Yeah, well, I used to use REST countries, but now it's behind a paywall. Import countries JSON. Let's call this countries data from countries.json. Can I still import JSON like this? Is this still valid? And then if we look at this, we can see that we have the alpha 2 code, the name. Really, we just want the name and region, I guess. I need a TS config for that. See, this is why. This is why I would just use require. And then, am I allowed to use require inside of an MJS file? I'm not in TypeScript, so I can't use an assert. Oh, no, that's built into VS Code. Command-Shift-P, format document. I think by default, it probably uses prettier to format the JSON. It'll work in JavaScript? Type of import assertion values must be string literal expressions. Oh, okay, maybe that'll work then. Okay. And so we can say the country data is countries data dot find, where d dot alpha 2 code, 2 lowercase, is equal to code. And then the name will be country data dot name, like that. And I think so, that's all we wanted from it. I don't think we really even need the region. Needs an import type of JSON. Oh, save the file. All right. South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands. I didn't know that was a place in the world. AC apparently is not in my country's JSON file. What is AC? NATO. Wait, what? Oh, Antigua and Barbuda? No. I want the ISO 13 alpha 2. This. That needs to be AC. I don't know why I keep clicking. But, I'm curious what AC is then. Ascension? Does anyone know what flag this is? Okay, I'm pausing. Sort of, I mean. Assassin's Creed? Ascension. Oh, it's literally called Ascension. Ascension Island? An isolated volcanic island south of the equator in the South Atlantic Ocean. It's a sovereign state. It's a part of the United Kingdom. Is this even a country? Tinai is having a really hard time trying to find that. But thanks for finding it, Alka. Yeah, I'm still on a 2015 MacBook Pro. I am very particular about... I mean, I guess right now I have a ton of applications open, but don't leave a lot of apps running. Turn off Docker if you're not using it. There's a way to keeping your Mac running decently, even if it's old. Wait, that was that was the U.S. Navy band playing "God Save the King." Why would the U.S. Navy band be doing that? I want Wikipedia to tell me, like, is this a country? No, I'm not going to keep it out of the system. I'm just very curious why Ascension Island is not listed in the list of all of the countries. It's part of Saint Helene. Constituent part of Saint Helena, Ascension, and Tristan da Cunha. Okay, yeah, I'm not opposed to having it. It's just the only thing is, like, I need it to be in here. But then the other issue is, like, it's not. This is actually we will use this to. We're going to use this JSON file. Well, not this one. The metadata one to verify it. So it's okay that it actually isn't in here. Cool. And I think we basically need to do this for everyone that doesn't exist. So if there's no country data, log, not found, code. Okay. These are just in the wrong folder, right? Right? Because EU, I guess that's the Europe flag. What's the best way to look up this 2-character ISO code? Here. European Union. Yeah, it must be, but I'm I'm geographically illiterate, and I don't know these things. Okay, easy. The next one is, the next one literally is easy, which is the Eurozone. There's a flag on the flag. Wait, which country is this, Alka? Is that the one that we were just looking at? Then we also want IC. Canary Islands. I know that they're not countries, so we'll just rename it to regions. Because all of these are at the top level anyways, and I want to allow people to use them. So, like, Ascension Island technically needs to be So yeah, I guess these are territories. I don't know. They're all gonna be at the top level because these are at the top level of this SVG directory. So that's okay with me. The next one is SU. That's not a thing anymore. Right? Tell me that's not a thing anymore, right? I at least know that much, right? Obsolete. We'll still add it. Tristan de Cunha. Deprecated, yes. TA? Cool. Yeah, the thing is, like, the list we had we thought was, like, perfect, but apparently it's not. Because, like, okay, so this is the United Kingdom flag, but in the list it's actually GB, right? Great Britain, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Oh, I guess technically there are alternates here. I don't even know if we're looking through alternates, but it's fine. We're almost done. Last one is UN, which is the United Nations. UN. It's the UN. It's not the UN. It's the UN. Yeah, I mean, I could have done some like multi-replace, but these are specifically the ones that are not in our list of countries. Cool. Unknown is just unknown. There we go. Now everything has a name. That looks good to me. I guess I'm also curious if in my existing backend code, do I use any other properties? So we use the alpha2 code, and then we also use the alternate spellings. So I'm actually just going to make alternate spellings an empty array. Honestly, I think I'll eventually update that backend code to use this generated metadata because we want to be able to check against like the specific regions within a territory. So really, this is territories. Cool. It's a map of all the territories. Does it have a what flag? Which one is that? Antarctica? Antarctica? Yeah, it should. Antarctica? Okay, so at this point we have all the top level territories. Now we can go into each directory and grab the regions. But are there directories inside of directories? I think there are, because if we go into US, that further has regions and then also subregions. Do we ever have sub-subregions? I think we just have regions and subregions. And then also, why are they using 3-letter codes? I guess 3-letter codes, is that a standard for regions or countries? Subdivisions. Also added flags for US cities. Okay, so US cities are the only one that have subregions. Yeah, so US has cities, and then we're going to allow people to make pull requests so you can add your city for other ones. Okay. That's the only thing that baffles me, or that like why I'm hesitating right now, is that the regions listed inside of Mexico are all 3 characters instead of 2. I guess that's fine. I think once we get into the subregions, I don't even care what the abbreviation is, because we're defining that structure. Okay. Now we do it again. So if it was a directory, we're going to read it. Oh, I can't read dirsync. I need to... I am going to stop doing the promise stuff. Like that. Okay, so if it's a directory, we created the territory for it. We've looked it up. Great. Now, for each of the regions, we do a very similar thing. I'm not even going to worry about writing this better, because we're going to run this thing once, and then once we have the generated JSON, we just work with that. We'll never have to run this again. So kind of do the same thing. Like if the region is a directory, we're going to go deeper. Else, we're going to just push it into the territory. Yeah. And then we further we need a little region getter that does the same thing, because we'll be dealing with either the file name or the directory name, but they will overlap. I just gave up on promises. So now we're going to have another nested function right here that says get region. And then this is specifically looking at territory.regions. So we'll grab the one that's equal to the code. If it exists, return it. If it doesn't exist, we'll create it. push it in. Why not make all this a separate library so it's easier to contribute to and you convert to an npm package at some point? Because I'm going to delete this file after I run it. I'm literally going to just generate the JSON and then delete it because I won't ever have to do this again. The idea from there is if you want to make changes, you'll directly edit that JSON file. Cool. So we'll say get region with item.name. I won't ever have to do this again. I mean, I say that. And then a region is going to have sub-regions. Right? Right? Yes. Yes. This if statement was wrong. This shouldn't be item is directory. It should be region is directory. It should be region.name. Is camel case better? I don't like camel casing because it's not always easy to read. So I use camel casing when I'm dealing with source code, like classes and subclasses and stuff like that. When I'm dealing with data, I like underscores because a lot of times non-coders are reading it. And I feel like non-coders have a better time looking at underscore case versus camel case. I don't know. I don't know. Why is this complaining? Oh! All right. The on 49. Oh, I know I'm not doing anything, but I will be doing something. For whatever reason, it's trying to read a directory that is not a directory. Line 31. Because here we say, if it is a directory, I want to read that directory. Oh, it's a subdirectory. I need to path join it. Path.join, join. SVG and item name. Like that. Beautiful. So now you can see at the top level we have the country code, the country name, and then regions, but all of these don't have subregions, at least for now. Eventually when people, and I guess when someone makes a pull request to the repo, they're going to need to manually update this file, which could make a case for me keeping it around and not throwing it away, but regardless. So Argentina has regions, apparently just one of them. Austria has several. Australia has several. We've got Belgium. All of these, and we should see one for the US as well. But we don't, because it's under there. But this seems to work. Now we go deeper. Because we have the region name, we then will grab all of these subregions, if it was a directory. And then we have more copy-paste. this all goes here. And then we can do region directory name is path.join of directory name and region.name. Welcome in, Frankie. We're doing good. We're just we're writing some really hacky code because I don't feel like making it good. This is all I need. So, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Like in my code, I like to use camel case, but if I'm dealing with data, and this is going to be JSON data, I like underscores. Okay. And then we can for each this. And then in this case, I think the only one that has even more nested directories is the US. Everything else doesn't. But here we can say region item dot subregions dot push an object where the code is subregion dot name. In this case, we got rid of the .svg. In this case, we need to get rid of the .svg as well, because it wasn't a directory. I'm glad to hear it, Hugo Das. I want to thank you for inspiring me to get my first developer job. I've just been offered to join a cybersecurity startup called CrowdSec. That's awesome. Wait, does CrowdSec, do they teach cybersecurity? Or am I thinking of something else? But congrats, Hugo. I'm glad to hear it. That's awesome. They have Buenos Aires flag, but it's not the Buenos Aires flag? You sure about that? So what we're working on right now is we're taking a repo we found that has a bunch of country and region flags, and we are creating a JSON file that describes it so that people can then set the flag onto their name. So right now you can do that, but they're all country flags, but we want people to be able to set their region or country or province flags as well. They do open source IDS and IPS agent ecosystem. Nice, nice. Yeah, the Sandwich Islands. What's the country character code? What's the country code for Buenos Aires? The one in the repo's from 1850. Well, you can make a pull. If you could make a pull request to update it. AR? BA? This one? Also has a weird aspect ratio. Oh, that's another thing we need to add. I'll just put it on the to-do. I mean, we're going to do it today, but to-do, get aspect ratio of SVG. So Argentina is the country, so AR. Oh, so this is Bosnia, I see. So Argentina is the country, and then C would be the... This would be a province or a country within Argentina. That's what this is. If you want the Argentina flag, then it is just ar.svg. So if you look here, this is the Argentina flag, this one. And this one, you can tell me if this one is wrong or out of date. Yeah, so this is Argentina. This one is good. But then in that folder, that one specifically is the subregion. So this is a subregion with the abbreviation C. Yeah, you can use Markdown. But also, yeah, if you want to set your country flag, you can like read that message. There's info on that. But if you just do !flag followed by a 2-character country code, for me it's the US, then your messages will have the country flag on them. And we're working on it so that you can also do states and provinces and subregions rather than just countries. But that's what we're working on right now. Okay, where was I? Here. Yeah, for each one, we want to see if the subregion is a directory. Then we do the thing. Else we do this thing, but not even that, because now we need a special little function that will either push it or retrieve it. And this is going to be region item dot subregions. Find that code. If we found it, return it. Otherwise, create it. Do we call it subregions if we go deeper? And then we say region item dot subdirectories. Or region item dot subregions dot push the subregion. Then we can say get subregion with subregion dot name. And what I think is the only one that has subregions is actually the US. There might be another one, though. And then this is a case where we need to remove the .svg on it as well. Okay. No errors. Let's go ahead and put this into a JSON file so I don't have to look at it in the console. So now, instead of logging it, I'm going to say fs.writeFile sync. We're going to call this metadata.json. It's going to have this turned into JSON. So JSON stringify this with 2 spacing, and this is UTF-8. So we'll do that. It wrote it to a file, and then now we have this metadata. And we can look at it. So we can see Argentina has a region called C. And then Austria has all of these regions. Australia has README, which we should ignore. The code is README, do nothing. Regenerate. I guess I technically needed to do that in the get region. Regenerate. There we go. So that got rid of README. So we've got all the codes within Australia. Etc., etc. And then, like I said earlier, I think I missed a bunch of messages. Sorry, everyone. Talking to myself. I think the only thing that's going to have subregions is the US. So let's look at that. Yeah, that worked. Nice. What country is that? Portugal. Very good. Welcome in, Frankie. I do not use Vim, no. Hey, welcome in. Lots of first-timers. Glad to have you. Littering and... Littering and... Littering and... Littering and... Here. And actually, that's all the code we need to write. I don't think it goes any deeper than, I don't think it goes any deeper than this. Littering and... so, for Alaska, that has the cities Anchorage and Juneau. Yeah, I think we're gonna stop there. There are no sub-subregions. It just stops there. And then we don't even need to check if it's a subdirectory. Wait, what did I just do? That's subregions. We don't want sub-subregions. Subregions. Yeah, and so there are no directories. I think we can actually just stop there. Yeah, and so for those of you that are beginners, I wrote the code this way on purpose so that you could understand what is spaghetti code. So there's a lot of duplication here. So like I have these functions. I've written this same function 3 different times that searches through an array and then pushes into the array if it didn't find the thing and then returns the thing. Each time it's a little bit different because I was operating on something else. But technically, if I wanted to work clean, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I like this spaghetti code. It's nice and delicious, and I like tasty things. But if I wanted to be a little bit cleaner, I could extract that into a more reusable function. And same thing for like this recursive directory looking thing. I could refactor that as well. But I don't want to do that. No, I'm not. Now I'm not. Like I've literally no reason. I have no reason to refactor this. It's gonna stay spaghetti. And Redoper, thank you very much for that Prime. What I wanted to see was the U.S. Yeah, so here we go. So this little object here is the United States, and for every state. You can set the state code, but if you live in one of these cities, you could use their flag instead. So Alaska also has Anchorage and Juneau. Alabama has Birmingham and Montgomery. Arkansas has Little Rock. There's a bunch of flags from in California. And then Colorado, which is where I'm at, has Colorado Springs and Denver. So I could technically set my flag to be Denver. Okay, this looks good. What I want to do now is I actually want to read in the SVG file and then put the aspect ratio on each of these objects, because we found, like very like comedically, that there are certain countries that do not have like a rectangular aspect ratio. Oh yeah, Alka's in Texas. We'll let him know what's in Texas. We've got Benbrook, Carlton, Corpus Christi, Dallas, Denison, El Paso, Houston, and Irving. I think you're probably closest to Houston, right, Alka? I didn't know Houston even had a flag. Let's see what it looks like. So we have U.S. We have Texas. And then we have Houston. I've probably seen that somewhere. Yeah. No, I've definitely seen that somewhere. I lived in Houston one summer. That was definitely on a building somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, I think the She-Boss is in Austin. I've actually never been to Austin. I want to go to Austin. So if this was a work environment, would coworkers hate me for writing code like this? Asking for a friend. Well, it depends. So like if your work environment has a process for code review, then they wouldn't hate you. They would basically say, hey, we're not going to merge that into the code base until you refactor it a little bit. Also, you could be on a deadline and everyone's really busy and they're like, it looks good to me, whatever. And that is technical debt. That's probably more likely what would happen. Is they're like, yeah, I don't care. It seems fine. But honestly, I was also just like stream of conscious coding. Like I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to have to think about how to better structure the code. So I just vomited the code into my editor, and it works, right? You can't tell me it doesn't work. I have the expected result here. But yeah. Oh wait, why are there 2 Texases? Man, my code is broke. Oh. I still need that. I think. Nope, my code is broken and I don't know why. So this is another reason not to write spaghetti code because I have all of this code and I need to figure out where I'm going wrong. And I have a bunch of variables floating around, and I'm not using TypeScript. Like I technically have type checking, but there are some things that TypeScript would have caught that I haven't, that I've done. Can you add author? I don't think I want people's names in this file. We'll definitely have, like, we could have like a contributors file at like the root of the repo. You were in Austin last month? That's cool. Yeah. Funny Boy's in Houston. That's cool. Yeah, you've lived there most of your life. You didn't know they had a flag. Yeah. How often do you review for technical debt? It varies. I think the issue is, like, a lot of times you don't have the time, you don't have the budget to do it. And you're not specifically looking for technical debt. Typically, the business will ask you to do something, or your client will ask you to do something, and be like, well, at this point, we should probably refactor that code because we're going to be touching it for this new feature. And then you can try to remove some of the technical debt, but the sad reality is you often don't have the time or the budget to do it. Yeah. Yeah, looks good to me. Last word before production goes down. Yeah. I mean, it sort of works. This is one little bug where the sub-region... So here's the issue. So there is a file called tx.svg, and there's also a directory called tx. And I thought I wrote the code that would not create the thing twice, but apparently it is, so I need to fix that. Austin is the closest Costco. Interesting. I'm bad at coding and about to get my CS degree. Do I still have hope? Yeah, everybody is bad at coding. Everybody is. And don't let anyone tell you that they're not. I mean, maybe they're all right at coding, but most people are bad. And you just get better with time. You get better with the more practice and the more experience that you have, you get better. Yeah, you'll get better. As long as you're striving to get better, you will get better. And companies typically, like, if they're hiring a computer science degree, they know that you have the fundamentals. You know what a for loop is. You know conditionals. You know how to write functions. You've probably written some C, C++, probably some Java too. You can write code. And then they will just throw you into a larger project, and you'll just have to learn as you go, depending on what kind of company you get hired at anyways. Yeah. I know, yeah, you're right. I could have a global set, but what I was doing in my spaghetti code here is I was searching through the array. So, like, technically this get subregion should say find where the code is equal to the code. Yeah. So this should find an existing one and then return it. But the issue is not with this one. The issue is actually with this one. Find it within the regions and then return it, because we're doing it twice. So wherever I call get region, if it's a directory, good. If it's not a directory, I'm calling it with the SVG name split. So it's running twice. Because it runs once here, and then it runs once again here. And then this is all in an array of regions. Stare at that code a little bit. Tell me what is wrong with it. What's up, Abdel? Somebody might have done it already, but yeah, you can look at my theme and my settings there. Literally everybody is bad, and you only remember things while you're doing it, and then it goes out the window. It's true. Yeah, I mean, there are some people that have a really good memory, and they use that effectively in their work and such, but most people don't. I mean, I have a pretty decent memory, but there's a lot of stuff that I have to look up pretty frequently. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, it varies, like, at least from what I've seen, like, boot camp grads are actually more useful a little bit sooner, because coding boot camp graduates learn... it's like a trade school. They learn how to use all of the tech that companies are actually using. So there's a bit less ramp up there. That said, they potentially will have ramp up for more computer sciencey things that weren't necessarily covered in a boot camp. Whereas with a computer science grad, you have the opposite problem. Like, they're really good at algorithms, but they don't know how to use Git, or they've never built anything with React. But still, both types of people that are new hires have room to grow, and a company usually allows for that. Yeah. California versus Canada, it'll be separate. California will be nested inside of US. Canada will be at the same level as US. Yeah, so what we're dealing with is, in this US folder, there's the Texas folder, but then there's also Texas SVG. This one. That's what we're trying to fix. And that's what this code right here should do, because it first search, and so this, and also, like, this is single threaded. This is all happening one at a time. So it's going to look into the array to see if we've seen it before. And if we have, just return it. So my thought is, when we come across the directory, that'll probably be the first time. We'll create it, we'll push it in, we'll return it. And then the second time, we will use the existing one, because we're going to see the directory first, and then we see the file second, I believe, anyways. Yeah, regardless of which one it hits first, this should catch that, right? The requirements vary. You'll have to look at all of individual job postings. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You usually do step debugging? I guess that's a good point. You're totally right, J-Mode. Instead of fixing my code, I could just remove duplicates after everything. territory.regions. Find. Oh! c.code equals code. That's what I'm missing. Because I did that other here. Yeah. d.alpha2 code equals code. And then I can just do this manually. Like this. This. Like that. Okay. That code that I just wrote wasn't the fix, but the code before that was the fix. So now, moment of truth. We have US, and then we should find Texas. Right here. And there should be no Texas afterwards, and there's not. We fixed it. The bug was I was not looking at the code property. Typescript would have fixed that. It would have been like, yo, you're comparing an object to a string, but that's fine. Welcome in, Mike. I like pizza too. Yeah, so at this point, I want to read in that SVG file and put the dimensions or the aspect ratio on each of the individual items. Do I want an SVG parser? Like, technically, I could just literally read in this file and then look at the width and height attributes. Because that's what I need. I want to grab that width and height and then use that to determine the aspect ratio. I guess technically I could just put the width and the height on there. Yeah. And Frankie is asking about MJS. So MJS stands for module JavaScript. And I need that because I'm using import syntax inside of JavaScript that's running for inside of Node. If I had just .js, I'd have to use the require syntax. Yeah, I think you're right, JMode, but I think most of these are SVGs anyways, and most of them do have a width and a height property. I think, honestly, what I need is I really just need an XML parser. Because the XML parser could read this in, because it is just XML, and then grab those attributes. There's one specifically that I have used in the past. Fast XML parser. Parse. Build. Parse. Yeah. Yeah, so and they're two separate module formats. So require and module.exports is known as common JS. And for a while, they were essentially competing standards. I guess they don't even show us a code example, but common JS is what we had in Node.js for a very, very long time, and also Browserify was a thing. that let you use require and module.exports inside of the web browser. And so for a while, this was like one of the standards for how do we split up our JavaScript code into multiple files so we can have a more maintainable code base. And that was one standard for doing it. But then the one that essentially won, and the one that's in the JavaScript standard, is what is it called? AMD module format, or just ECMAScript modules? I guess they probably talk about it in here. ESM, yeah. And then Dino uses ECMAScript modules. So Dino tries to stay with the standard. They're using the standard that got adopted into ECMAScript. How can I find something on ECMAScript modules? It's probably in the ECMAScript Wikipedia, because this got introduced in ECMAScript 2015 or ES6. It introduced the module syntax, ES6 modules. And so now ES6 modules are the main standard that everyone's trying to get to, but it's a struggle to get there. And then ES6 modules are not to be confused with how Webpack does things, and then how other bundlers adopt. I'm pretty sure Webpack was one of the first to do it. But the fact that you can import a CSS file inside of like a React app, or you can import an image file in a React app, that is not ECMAScript modules. That is a bundler that sees that import and then does the right thing based on that import. But they often get you confuse them. But what that means is because Dino is using the actual like ES6 module format, then you cannot import CSS files in Dino. You can't import images in Dino. That's just not a thing you can do. You need a specific module loader or bundler that's separate from that. Yeah, and so Webpack, I think Webpack was the one to popularize it, but Vite now lets you import in a similar way. And that actually might come from Rollup. But yeah, if you have an app that's running Vite, you can import CSS files, you can import images, but all of that is handled by the bundler, and that's not actually an ECMAScript standard. I'm going to stop talking about this now, but there's a lot of history there. And then now Node.js is trying to adopt ECMAScript modules, but of course there's tons of old Node.js code that still uses require and module.exports. So now Node.js essentially needs to support that way of doing it going forward. And they're trying to adopt the ECMAScript module standard. But in order to opt into it, you have to call your file im.js. Or in your package.json, you can say type is module. But then once you've done that, now in the Node.js world, instead of using require and module.exports, you can use ECMAScript modules. But then they also introduced this syntax, which lets you use modules that were written with CommonJS, but you want to use them inside of an ECMAScript module. It's a bit of a mess. But if you're using like a bundler tool like Vite, you don't even have to worry about it. You just import everything, and it figures out the right thing to do. Yeah. Oh, that's good to know, Hugo. But there's a lot of stuff that Vite does that I think are dependent on rollup plugins, because there's like the all of the post CSS stuff it's doing and stuff like that. But yeah. Okay. Does anyone want to give me a suggestion on what I should do here? Here's the problem that I'm going to solve now. As I'm parsing all of these and figuring out what the countries are, what their names are, when I come across a flag, I want to read in the width and the height properties from each of the SVG files, because that's what I'm going to put on in the metadata, because if someone's going to use these SVGs and they're going to consume them programmatically, oh, is that what this is? So now you're differentiating between core modules and NPM modules? Oh, okay, so maybe that's not even anything to do with CommonJS. It's good to know, though. Yeah, so I have multiple options here. I could install an XML parser. I could read in the entire SVG file, and then an XML parser is essentially like the document object in the browser. Like it would read this in, and then I would get access to like element dot attributes, and I could grab the width and the height attribute, and that would be like a more programmatic way of doing it. The other way is I could just use a regular expression. Like I could read in this text and then just pick out width and height. There could be some issues there because I don't know how consistent all of these files are, though. And then I want the width and height because this metadata file that I'm creating will be consumed programmatically. And so, for instance, when I consume it in my overlay, I need to know what's the aspect ratio of the image that I'm embedding, because otherwise it'll be wonky. And not all flags have the same aspect ratio, which we learned. Do an index of on width and height. All right, let's see where that gets us. And if we run into any weird issues, we'll install an XML parser. So let's just do it manually. So essentially anywhere where I have an SVG. In this case, I have an SVG. I'm splitting it on a dot and just grabbing the name. But right now, item.name is specifically an SVG. Let's minimize this. Okay, so if I want to read this file in, I need to join. So this is going to be right now we're at the top level. So it's going to be the SVG folder followed by item.name. So that's specifically that file path. And then I can read it in. This I will create a function for. So here I'll create a little function called get SVG metadata. This takes in the file path. This reads it. And then, I mean, do I need to tell it that? I don't think I need to tell it it's at UTF-8, do I? Or maybe I do, because I need to tell it. Maybe not. Read file sync. That's what I want. And then here I can pass in, read it in as UTF-8. So this is should be the text of the file. For now, I'm just going to log it and then quit. So I don't want to go any further. I just want to see what we get there. So right here, I could say get SVG metadata with the file path. Let's see what we get. Ideally, it will log out a bunch of XML, and it does. So we've made it that far. So now that we have the XML, there's a project that does it. We could look at their source code to see how they do it. So read it in. It gives the width and the height. My guess is internally they're using some kind of SVG parser. Yeah, so they're using XML2.js, and then they're grabbing out the attributes. We're saying that this is overkill. We don't want to do that. Let's see if we can get this working. Okay. Throw a regular expression on there. Honestly, and then I just want width. And then grab what's in there. And then that's followed by some white space. Well, /s is white space, right? Followed by height. Like that. So this should pluck out what's in between those double quotes for width and what's in between those double quotes for height. It should give me the first one. I thought the whole point of JavaScript was to use more JavaScript. Yeah. honestly, though, I think what I can do is I can just say this actually gives me back the width and the height. Because it should be an array where at 1 will be width. Why is this complaining? Oh, because it could be null. Well, it's probably fine. Wait, what? If I use regular expression dot exec on the file, what does this give me back? Is that more predictable? Yeah, and I think that's what's happening. It's greedy. It keeps on going till it finds another one, but I want to like stop at the first double quote, right? Why is this not what I expect? I can't read your name because of that. Well, thank you. Imtazik, thank you for the bits. Inside of the capture group? Really? Oh, you're right. Okay. Okay, so this should give me width and height. Look at that. We've done it. Okay. Also, we could parse these as numbers, but I think we're gonna run this, but it's possible that this regular expression breaks for some of our SVGs. So yeah, now we need to run it against every single one and make sure that we actually get back some data. So width, we'll parse it as a number. Width and height, we'll parse it as a number. Height. But we'll say if is nan width or is nan height error file path. And then we'll exit and we'll fix our regular expression. Yeah, and technically, like, if this doesn't match, it could return null, and then we would actually get an issue when we're indexing into the results. So here's what we do. So right here, I'll say get... we have the territory. And we'll say territory.svg is this. Let's just see if this works for the top level. It broke. So svg/af.svg doesn't have... Literally the fourth one broke. We have width. And then we have height. So I think what I need is right now, so I assumed that they were together. I assumed that they were side by side. But what I need to say is that there can be anything in between them. Would it work to do this? And then now we have just one more comma? You know, I think you're right. I'm just going to do two regular expressions. We're going to grab the width, and then we're going to grab the height. I like that better. Oh, not that. Because you're right, they could be in either order. So let's just grab the width, and then we'll do the same thing and grab the height. And then one of them doesn't even have a width, so I really need to wrap this in a try-catch. I mean, instead of a try catch, I could put it into a variable, check if the variable is null, but I don't want to do that. I want to just log the file path name if there was an error. Su.svg. You're right. But su.svg. So we made it all the way down here, which is nice. This one. What's up, Owen Codes? This one has neither. It doesn't have width or height, but it does have a view box. And we could extract the width and the height from the view box. So we will actually say this. Width result. Height result. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, even if we used a parser, it wouldn't help us in this scenario, because in this scenario, we need to grab it from the view box. So if not width result or not height result, do the other thing. Yeah. I mean, we're not necessarily, I guess technically we are parsing SVG, but we only want two properties out of it, the width and the height. And Jim's account, thank you very much for the sub. With result like that. Yeah, and then I don't even want const on there. I think I can just do that. And height result. Like that. Type string is not assignable to type number. Oh, that's fine. That's fine, TypeScript. We're gonna parse it to a number anyways. The comma gets, so whenever you do when the result of a regular expression is an array where the first item in the array is the full match, the second item in the array is, well, any item after that is going to be your matching group. So this is destructuring, and we're ignoring the first item in the array and only grabbing the second item in the array. Yeah. Okay, so if we didn't have a width height result or a height result, that means we need to grab the view box. Here. And that should have a consistent format of 4 numbers separated by spaces. Viewbox result. And then we're going to have 0, 0, width, height from the viewbox. And if there was no viewbox result, give up, all hope is lost. Exit. I'll log the file path here. View box is actually view capital B box. Good call. But what if they did it with a lowercase b? Oh, that worked. That's it. That's all. And then now, and actually, did I do that wrong? Is this width height or is this height width? Yeah, this should be width and height. Did I do that? Width and height. Okay. Let's see if we did it right. Yeah, these all look good. And then if we look at Sue. Oh, that's that one. I totally forgot that we left this in. It's not even a thing anymore. But I need to split it on a space. That's why this broke. And Joachim Lee, thank you very much for that prime. Split it on a space, and then the USSR should be happy like that. Cool. Seems fine. Okay, so now we know that it's working at the top level. Now we go deeper. Now we go deeper, and we do it again for each level. So anytime we're dealing with the actual SVG name like this is when we need to do this. And we're resulting to single letter variable names because I have so many variables I don't want to overwrite anything. Let's see if this gets one level deeper. SVG/AU/README. Give up, all hope is lost. If there's no R, just stop what you're doing. Okay, error in SVG Great Britain War. Put. Who does that? Put. I think it sounds for 100 points, but we can fix that. Why not remove PT from the SVG? I was trying to avoid editing any of the original files, but yeah, you're not wrong. Let's just do that. Then we don't even have to worry about it. Yeah, we could have updated the regular expression too, but this should be better. Okay. Ran into another issue. PK/GB. PL/LD. Poland. I mean, I guess this is why I didn't want to remove point, because now I need to remove it in every single file. So actually, I'm going to revert, and we're going to go back to just undoing it. So I don't want to have to update every single one. I just want to account for it. And then the regular expression thing, that's 0 or more digits. No, but then that wouldn't work because it wouldn't account for the PT right there. Right? And then I'll start these off as strings. I just had a thought though, like this is why I wait. You can pass a string into isnan. That's a thing. Parseint, stop on the first non-digit. Oh no, I want it. I want it to work though. I don't want to ignore it. So that should work. I'm not gonna update my regular expression. I think we're on our way though. So we have ru and nis. Millimeters? The thing is, even if we had an XML parser, I don't think it would solve this issue. There we go. All right, so we've that's it. That's all we needed to do. I think I'm just going to gradually update this thing as we go. And I think at this point we only need to go one more level deeper. So we've hit all of the regions. Now we need subregions and width is a number? What do you mean? Oh, is it? Well, no. It's a string. I know it's a string. And I want to see if that string were to be converted into a number, would it result in nan? And that's what isnan actually does for us. Yeah. Will parseInt ignore parseInt won't just throw out well, yeah, I don't want it to convert because I explicitly convert it to a number right here. I want to throw an error if it's I appreciate your suggestions, but I know what I'm doing for the most part. for this little section of the code, this works the way that I want it to work. Okay. And then lastly, we will do it here. So we want to join the region directory name with subregion.name. I think. Ohio, Germantown. Okay, SVG, and then US, and then Ohio, and then Germantown. Inches. Excuse me. We're doing read sync because this is not running as a background process. I literally run it once and then it's done. I mean, you can see how quick it is. Like, it finishes instantly, so I don't need to do things asynchronously. But we found another thing. Inches. I didn't know that these were valid units on an SVG. Yeah, but so just to reiterate why I'm doing it this way. So parseInt, as far as I know, will not remove string values from within the string that you're parsing. It'll just result in isnan. So like if we had, for instance, if you passed 36 inch into parseInt, parseInt does it? There's no way. Okay, you're right. When you're right, you're right. Yeah, you know. If we run into any other issues here, it's your fault. And you're gonna need to come here and fix it. Okay, so let's see what we run into. So now, SVG ES and then ex.svg. So it only has a view box, so we would have been looking at the view box. And then what happens if we looked at the view box? We split it, we grab width and height, and then we parse it. So it should have gone in here. Wrong bat. So it got here 810 and 540. Is that even right? No, it's not. So our regular expression for this view box isn't even, it's not picking it up. View box equals double quotes, double quotes. Someone tell me why this doesn't match our regular expression. As far as I know, like the aspect ratio is the same regardless of units. I mean, yeah. I don't think there's any scenario where they mixed units like that. It's possible that they did mix units. I don't think they did. Well, here's the thing. It works for all of these other scenarios. Let's see. Like this one, esct.svg. How is this different from this? Oh. Yeah, I think you're right, Elka. I think there's a width and a height in here somewhere. Or even, somebody kept saying it. Yeah, stroke width, stroke width, stroke width. That's the issue, stroke width. So should we even, how somebody definitely said it. There should be a space, right? Right? Yeah, that's okay. That's the fix. Just put a space in the front. That's it. Cool. We've done it. I think we've gone all the way down. I think like some of you are I think are right to be concerned that if width and height are in different units, then this will technically break. I don't think they meant for them to be in any specific units. Cool. Yeah, so MJS stands for module.js. So this specifically is an ECMAScript module because I'm using imports inside of my Node.js code. Yeah. You'll make one with mixed units just to handle the case? Stop. Yeah, so as long as the width and the height units were in the same unit type, then technically the aspect ratio will be the same. There were some of SVGs where the width had like PT on it and then the other one didn't, but I don't know if that actually affects anything. At this point, we have our metadata file. think we're good to go. I think this is it. And then now in the future, someone can make a pull request, for instance, and like put the name. I guess I don't know why you would need the name on the subregions. Yeah, this is it. We're shipping it. I am gonna leave a comment here. Beware. This code was quickly hacked together. You could probably rerun it against any added files, but you'll probably also lose any recent changes to those files. Cool. You probably want to update this file to read in metadata.json and further update that file. Probably. Okay. This looks good to me. Now this little metadata file we can use if someone wants to set a specific flag in my overlay. I would essentially need to parse through this this file to see if that country and that subregion actually exist, and then if they do exist, allow the user to set that. And so I think what I want to be able to do is something like flag US Colorado Denver, like that. So if I did this, my backend would be able to interpret that and be like, okay, yes, there is a US, yes, Colorado is a subregion of that, and then yes, Denver is a subregion of that. There you go, set the flag as that. But then for anything at the top level, that'll work just fine. Like you could set it to United Nations. And anything that was like a sub you could do as well. So if I did US/CO, that would just set it to the Colorado flag. Yeah. Yeah, we can come up with like coding drinking games for sure. Yeah. So yeah, and that's the other thing is like I didn't touch any of the SVG files. All of the SVG files are in their original state. So if someone wants to come along and come up with a better way of extracting the width and the height, I'm totally open to that. Yeah, there's a lot of cities that have flags too. Yeah. We found earlier that Houston, Texas has a flag. But yeah, so for instance, go in the Texas directory, there's a flag for Corpus Christi. Look at that. And a flag for El Paso. The city of El Paso. And then oh no, that's Colorado. But if we go to the country directory, see, what's Colombia's country abbreviation? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I totally forgot that I could command F in here. But yeah, so in this case, the repo only has Colombia. It doesn't have any sub. But in the future, if you wanted to add some, you could create a folder called CO and then put the territory or the subregion in there. Yeah. Process all the SVGs and unify them? What do you mean by that? Like, make them more consistent? OMG, OMG, OMG. And then Japan apparently has numbers for their subregions. That's really fun. I mean, I think France has numbers too. But the Falconer, thank you very much for that sub. Yeah. Wait until you see Nepal. Does it have a bunch of... Is this... Oh! That's funny. I'm curious though. How'd they do it? Very fancy. Yeah, in this case, the width and the height will still work for us though, because that basically gives us the aspect ratio. Okay. I think I'm going to push this code up and then call it for today. But next week, we'll have a similar stream on Tuesday where we can start to actually integrate this data. So now that we have this metadata, I'll use it in the overlay so that you can set your state flags and stuff like that. And in the meantime, you can make a pull request against this repo to add a specific state or city flag if you want to. And for the time being, you'll need to look at how it currently is set up. Essentially, in the SVG folder, you would need to create a folder for your country, and then inside of the country folder, you can add a state flag. But if you want to go deeper than that, you can look at the US as an example, because there's a US folder. Then there's a folder for, I don't know if it's every state, for most states, and then inside of the folder, you just put the city name. And so this is the Denver flag. Yeah. Why do I store the width, height, and the metadata instead of the aspect ratio directly? So that people could calculate it. I think you're right, though. That probably would be more consistent to just put aspect ratio, and then you could dynamically calculate it. Let's do that. Is it width divided by height? Or is it height divided by width? Possibly undefined. That's fine. Max value divided by min value. We don't want that because sometimes one is larger than the other, right? Right? Does that matter? Well, it could also be it could be like 4 divided by 3 is 1.333333. So if we see 1.333333, then we know it's a square. Like, what was it, Sweden? Apparently, it's 1.6, so it's not a perfect square. That seems a little bit suspicious. Let's look at... oh, no, not... CH. Switzerland. Yeah, and that has an aspect ratio of 1 because the width and the height are exactly the same. And so what is 16 divided by 9? That would be like a 1080p flag. So we would see 1.7. What's the point of doing this? So that way I don't have the width and the height. I just have an aspect ratio. I guess that's true, Alka, but I would assume if someone is using this for some other reason, they might want to know how to calculate the width and the height. I'm surprised how many flags aren't, like... So, I mean, if we look at the US flag... 1.9. Why don't all flags just have a 1.9 ratio? Yeah, a square is going to have an aspect ratio of 1. And in the case of Switzerland, it does, because it's their flag is a square. And thanks, Venox. Appreciate that. We don't have the Vatican City. You could add it. Is there a flag that's greater than 2 or smaller than 1? Probably. just scrolling a gigantic file. Qatar? That has an aspect ratio of 2.5. Yeah. Did we already look at Qatar? What does Qatar look like? Oh, this is the one that's that big long rectangle. Yeah. It's a banner. Okay. How does everyone feel about keeping the aspect ratio number? So the idea is, if you're using this in a project, you could say, all right, I want to render the Qatar flag with a width of 500 pixels. Now, to calculate the height, you multiply 500 times 2.5, and that gives you... Or you divide it? There's math involved. I was so confident up until I was like, wait, is that right? I think if it's an SVG, we may not get like automatic, like with a regular image, typically, yeah, you can't, if you set the width, the height will be automatic. So yeah, that's not right. I think it would be 500 divided by 2.5. And then it would have a height. So if the width was 500, the height would be 200. I think that makes sense. All right, I'm going to commit this for now, and then I got to go. Also, I'm going to update the index.html. Lots and lots of flags. Let's give it a little bit of styles. Does this still exist? I made this a really long time ago. It's a super basic style sheet. Yeah, it still exists. Cool. I'm going to deploy it, and then I'll also push it up, and we'll be done. Vercel added a comments feature, something like Figma comments, but live in a deployment URL. Yeah, what's up, Sandora? We were working on a repo that has a bunch of country flags and state flags and city flags as SVG files. And eventually we're going to use that in this overlay. Because right now my overlay only supports country flags, but I want people to be able to add their city or their province flags as well. Yeah. Add metadata file, update index.html. Cool. Yeah, and so we forked it from a repo that was a fork of some other fork. The fork before that, I think, was last updated 7 years ago. It still has a bunch, but basically now that this repo is on the Coding Garden organization, if someone wants to add their city or province or whatever, they can just make a pull request here, and we'll be actively watching it, so we can merge it in, and then it'll be available in the overlay. Cool. Yeah, so now if we go to all flags, we've got a nice little README. Lots and lots of flags. Click here for documentation, and then it takes you here. Cool. Yeah, forking essentially creates an exact copy of someone else's repo on your account. But now that it's on your account, you have full access to do whatever you want with it. So typically, like what I would do is I would fork it, maybe make some changes, and then I could make a pull request against the original repo. So I could say, hey, Rudy SH, we added a bunch of flags. You should merge those into your repo. And so basically I could say you could pull changes from my repository. Like, technically, the original repo should probably pull the changes in that Rudy made, because Rudy has made 43 commits against this, like fixing some stuff. But yeah. If the original repo gets removed, your stuff is still around. It'll just, I don't know if it'll remove that or it'll just say, it might still say it, but then when you click on it, you'd get a 404. But, yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I think that's the other thing is, like, I probably want to update the README as well. I'm kind of updating this with the idea that it won't really get merged back into the original. Cool. Yeah, and that's the other thing is if Rudy makes changes, I would need to pull those changes into my fork, because once you create a fork, it's completely separate from the original. It's just a copy. And if you want changes from the original, you need to pull those in manually. Yeah, if you want to create a pull request, you could fork it. Actually, yeah, you'd need to fork it. Yeah, if you want to make a PR, you would make a fork of my fork. And then push the changes to your fork and then make a pull request against mine. Yeah. Okay. This was fun. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. I'm gonna go. I am streaming again tomorrow, and we're gonna be working on Dino. On an app called Fresh Spots. Yeah. Oh, I guess you could do that as well. Yeah. So if you go to the repo and you just press dot, that launches the web editor. And then this is just like a seamless experience, because if you start editing, like if I literally go in here and I like create a new file, and I save it, behind the scenes, it'll do all of that for you. It'll create a fork, it'll create a commit, and then once you're done with all that, you can go back to the original repo and then make a pull request against the original. But yeah, okay. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to be working on an app with this Fresh framework. We're going to be cleaning up our styles and then hopefully just working on some features. That code is over here. This will be stream number 10. We've streamed quite a bit on it, and we keep getting sidetracked, but I really do want to get some features, because we actually don't have any features yet. Oh, and my database is broken. Because I ran out of the free tier on Railway, so before tomorrow I need to figure out where I'm going to host my database in the meantime, or I could just start paying money to Railway. Yeah, I think the biggest hang up on Dino is just that figuring out what will work within Dino, because they don't have full cross compatibility with packages that were written for Node.js. So that's mainly what we're running into, is like, oh yeah, well, we got to figure out how to make this work with Dino. And then the other thing is, because Fresh is using Preact instead of React, that's another issue, is if there's a React library that we want to use, we have to figure out how to make it work with Preact. And then we have to make sure that it works with Fresh as well, because Fresh is doing some specific things with the Preact components. show. Yeah, there are a few options for databases. I thought about spinning up a Supabase, because Supabase technically gives you the database credentials, so we could just use those. I'm going to look at fly.io. I've heard of it. But we need a Postgres database, so we can't use Cloud Atlas. And we because it's a Dino app, we're deploying to Dino deploy, which is here. Yeah. Supabase with an A, but I think it was probably a play on Superbase. I don't know. Well, actually, Supabase is an open source Firebase, so they use the name Supa. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I've tried it on stream before. I mean, they give you more than just a Postgres database. Like it's basically a backend as a service, but technically you don't have to use any of that. You could just use the free or the dev tier database. Regardless, check out the schedule. Tune in tomorrow. Thank you everybody for hanging out today. I have a mailing list. I send out an email every time that I go live. So if you want to join the mailing list, you can get that email. I know sometimes the Twitch notifications don't reach you until hours later. And I guess that's it. I have a music project called Probably Happening, and we're probably streaming tonight. So if you want to see me play some guitar and do some interesting stuff, you can follow over there. We have lots of camera angles and effects, so it ends up looking like that. It's pretty fun. I play bass too, and a little bit of keyboard. But I might be streaming tonight. Anything else I need to tell you? Follow me on Twitter. Follow me here. I have a YouTube. All that good stuff. I think that's it. I'm using an app called Synesthesia. That's not it either. This one. It essentially looks at the incoming audio on my audio interface and then has a bunch of different effects that I can choose from. Okay, that's it. That's all. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We're going to go on a raid, so grab your raid messages from there. I don't know who we're going to raid, but whoever we raid, show them lots of love. Drop a follow if you like what they're doing. Thank you, everybody, for following today who did. Thank you to all of the supports. I think I missed Nessie. Thank you, Nessie, for the Prime. If I missed saying thank you, I apologize. I've not been very good about it lately, but I do appreciate all of the support. Yeah, no updates on Coding After Dark, but I will probably start selling. I'm gonna start selling tickets at least 3 weeks before the actual event, so you'll know if you can attend. I don't know, Oscar. You can try. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this. So we've never rated this person before, but they're playing Clash of Code, coding game, which we like to play. So hopefully they're chill. Definitely show them lots of love. Here we go.